so good to see you. It's so good to see you. It's been quite some time. I want to welcome you to the Network Podcast for Healthcare Consultants. I'm Elle Pearson, and I wanted to reboot this podcast with a very special guest, someone who is a dear friend. We've been in a very oh my gosh, what's the word for it? We've been in a container together where we've had breakthroughs and just got closer in that experience. And when I thought about rebooting the podcast and just kind of sharing um, what it's going to take for you to really get the results that you desire, there's no one else that I wanted to have on the podcast first other than Gabrielle Leonard. So, Gabrielle, I'm so happy that you are here today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for inviting me here. I am so honored to be in this space with you. Uh, I'm so happy to talk and discuss what we have planned to talk about today as well.
Yes, yes. Well, I know you have many achievements. You are an author. You help your own clientele obtain some huge contracts in corporate. But most importantly, you are really, when it comes to doing the deep work, you know exactly how to help your clients really tackle and do that deep work, that inner work to get those breakthroughs that they desire. So would love to hear a little bit about, or tell everyone else, like who are you? What do you do? Kind of go over that. Introduce yourself.
So, hey everyone, again, I'm Gabrielle Leonard. I'm a business expansion coach. I help my clients to attract and close high-end private and corporate clients and do it with ease and flow. That's the biggest part. And a big part of the work that I do, like Elle just said, is the internal work, because if you really want to bust past your upper limit, the limit that you set for yourself of what you think is possible for you, you have to do the inner work. And it's not just mindset work, it's deep, deep work. So that's what I do. I love my job. I'm very good at it. My clients have gone on to close six-figure to $1 million contracts. And so we are here to discuss all of that.
Yes, that we're definitely here for closing
Yes.
six-figure and $1 million contracts. But you know something, I was having a conversation with a good friend this morning, and we were talking about, what it takes and who you have to essentially become to hit those 5-figure and 6-figure and $1 million accounts. Like when you're building a firm, it takes a lot of inner work. And so just reflecting back on just my own experience and my own journey. And Gabrielle, I know you can relate to this. Who I was 5 years ago, who I was 10 years ago, even who I was 6 months ago, I'm not the same.
Yeah.
I've gone through a complete reinvention and transformation. And I think a lot of people don't realize, okay, yeah, you want to start a business, you want to go into consulting, but what is it going to take? So I want to dive into that conversation because I know you've gone through your own personal transformation to hit even your own income goals. So I really want you to share what that looks like, or what that looked like for you, because I know you're continuing to evolve as well.
Yes. So I have a very interesting story in that, first of all, I am from the U.S. Virgin Islands. So our island is 32 square miles. That's the first thing. I was actually born in the British Virgin Islands and raised in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So that in and of itself came with its own thing. And then I became a high school dropout and homeless around the same exact year. And so I write about this in my book, Becoming a Closer, the art of reinvention that attracts high-end contracts. And so in this book, I talk about there was a moment when I was on the streets and I was like, this is not my life. This is not real. And I had to make a decision. It literally took a decision. I was like, I'm deciding that this is no longer where I want to be. I'm deciding that there's more out there for me. And my life started to change rapidly after that. So really making a conscious decision of who I am now, who I desire to be, and start operating as her, even no matter what it looked like. When I was on the streets homeless, I was acting like I was a multimillionaire, so much so that the guys on the streets would be like, "You don't belong here. You don't even go here. Like, why are you here?" It was so obvious because my energy was bigger than my situation, right? And so when you make that decision and you start operating as if, and you start being her now, being him now, being they, them now, then all of a sudden the universe starts to conspire to make that thing happen for you. And so now my actual reality that I live right now is that I do 6-figure months in my business. I close high-end clientele. I mean, my best-selling coaching program that I sell like clockwork every single month is a $30,000 private coaching program. This is what I do now. And it took me making that decision when I was on the streets, right? When I was homeless. So that is some of the inner work that came. Of course, there's more. There's more. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
But that is the long and short of it all.
I have a question for you because, operating from a place of how I see myself was something that I had to learn. So I had to make an investment through coaching to really understand what that looked like and what that felt like.
Yes.
So I'm curious to know, because you have so many testimonies to share, but you were already operating from a millionaire mindset even when you didn't have $1 million in your pocket. So did someone introduce that concept to you, or was that something you just naturally embodied? Because if you naturally embodied that, I'm impressed.
So it's interesting. There's two different things that happen, and now I'm looking back, I chuckle at it because at the time it seemed like not so necessarily great things, but now looking back, I'm like, wow. So my mom used to be a housekeeper for rich people. Let's just put it that way. And so she would house sit, and she would, sit in their homes, and she would bring us with her as she would clean, or as she would be in charge of the home for a weekend or whatever. And so I got to experience wealth at a very young age because my mom would clean houses. And so not only that, but I was friends with the children of the rich people. In my mind, I was like, these are my friends. And so I spoke like they did. I remember telling my mom, like, why are we like, I couldn't understand, like, why do we live so different than they do? And I remember being very young and understanding that we are poor and they are rich. And I remember telling my mom, one day I'm going to be rich, Mom. Like, I was very young. I probably was about like 6 or 7 or something like that. And I was like, one day I'm going to be rich. One day I'm going to live in houses like this. I mean, I'm talking mansions. Yeah. Not only would she be house sitting, but these construction companies would bring her in to clean these homes before these people would even move into the houses, right? So I was exposed to wealth at a very, very young age. And then my mom, who has always been very ambitious, she always had the entrepreneurial bug. She joined this MLM company back in the day. I think back then it was called Quick Start. I don't remember exactly, Amway or something like that. And basically, they had like these books that they had to read. Like, they had to listen to these audios and tapes and books. And so while we would be driving, my mom would be playing these, rich. I think it's called Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's not coming to me right now. Yeah, she'll be playing these books in the car as we will be driving, or these audio about wealth and creating generational wealth. And so, in addition to all of this, this is what I was hearing in the background, playing in the car, being a kid, but it was sinking into my subconscious. So that is what I was exposed to. So no, I wasn't just born that way. It was the environment that I was raised in.
You know what? I'm glad you touched on that, simply because it's something I do with my daughter, number one, and she can't stand it. If I put on, Bob Proctor, or if I put on Tony Robbins, she's like, Mom, I've had enough. However, again, it's just really reprogramming our subconscious mind.
Yes.
To really start, again, just reprogramming how we think about money. Yeah. And so even from a young age, your mother was already working on your inner workings as well. So that's amazing. Are those some things that you still do to this day?
Absolutely. I'm an audiobook girl. I still love to read. So you can see I have a library behind me. They're all filled with books, those shelves. But also, I read mostly fantasy. I'm a fantasy novel girl. So that's my little my vice. However, I'm always listening to some book during the day. I'm always listening to some kind of affirmation. I have it playing in the background while I'm working, because we're busy. We have short attention spans these days. And so I'm always mindful that even though I have a lot going on, I have to always make time for my abundance and the abundance energy. I have to always be mindful of that. So my daily routine is very intentional, and that part of that routine is making sure that I'm feeding my subconscious on a daily, regular basis. Yeah.
You know, I honestly believe that we don't think about these things when we go into business.
We don't.
It's an afterthought because we want that end result, right? Like I desire to acquire six-figure accounts. But as I mentioned previously, when I had the mindset of an employee, I necessarily couldn't get there and fast.
Right.
I want to know how doing the inner work has really helped you collapse time, because I feel like these are concepts that we may know about, Gabrielle, that a lot of people may not be exposed to.
Yeah, and it's true. It's absolutely true. So actually, I'm in the middle of writing a new book called Abundance Energy, and I launched this whole podcast because I'm in the middle of writing the book, and I wanted to get my thoughts out about it, because in the last 2 years or so, I would say the last year, I've been very intentional about the energy in which I do business from, because I've been paying attention. Now I've created this thing where I talk about the cycle of expansion, right? You make a decision. When you make a decision, you receive, you're in a plateau, you make a decision, you receive the test, you win the test, and then you expand. That's like the cycle that happens when you're about to expand to your next level. And it happens every single time you expand, right? But I also was paying attention to, well, what energy do I have to be in to expand in the first place? And I realized abundance energy is that energy you have to be in. And so as I've been studying this, I realized that a part of staying in that energy is being super intentional about it. Being super intentional about every single day that you show up, because the energy, it's as simple as you making a post on social media. The energy in which you make that post makes a huge difference. When I tell people that I posted like 7-second videos on TikTok and closed $30,000 sales, like on a regular weekly basis, people are like, how? It's because the energy in which I posted is what's attractive. The video is great, but the energy behind the video is what's great. Even the energy in which I'm filming that content is important. The energy in which you film it, the energy in which you post it, the energy in which you're commenting on your post, it makes a difference. Same with when you're showing up on a sales call or closing a deal. All of that is actually very important. So a big part of what I do with my clients is establishing their abundance energy rituals. It has to happen. If you don't have a daily abundance energy ritual, just like how you have a daily health ritual of waking up, brushing your teeth, washing your face, eating breakfast, right, working out, whatever that is, you have an intentional routine that you put into place to make sure that you are remaining healthy. Yeah. Same thing with your abundance. You have to put some stuff in to make sure that you're remaining in that energy of abundance. And people don't know that. But I want you to know this right now. Watch what happens when you make an intentional decision to put the same energy you put into your health and your looks and your appearance into abundance. It makes a huge difference. Huge.
You know what book really helped me master this concept? And I know you know this book, Gabrielle.
Which one?
A Happy Pocket Full of Money by David Kanji.
Absolutely.
That book changed to be completely transparent, I had a complete shift. A complete shift. I am no longer the same after reading that book.
Same. Absolutely. It's a required reading for my clients too. They have to read The Big Leap and A Happy Pocket Full of Money in my high level program. It's a requirement. You have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, because when I'm speaking, it's gonna do this. If you don't read the books that I'm reading, when I'm talking to you, it's gonna be like, huh? What time is an illusion? What are you talking about? It's gonna be they're gonna watch me like she's sick in the head. No, I have gone through a spiritual awakening, and I'm going through that abundant energy, and I understand that the way that abundant people work and thrive and operate is not the same as everybody else.
No, it's not. It's not. So that's exactly why I said if there's a missing piece to your business
Mm-hmm.
and you are pondering why
Yeah.
you can't connect with clients,
Yeah.
if you can't convert clients, you have to go back to this. This is really ground zero.
Yeah.
So,
It's ground zero, and it's a continuous part. It's
yeah,
ground zero, and it's every day. This is where you go back to. If you're like, oh, I'm feeling like there's a lot of scarcity going on, go back to this. Go back to this ground zero. If you're feeling like, oh, why am I not closing these contracts? Go back to ground zero every single day. It should be a ground zero every single day. Actually, absolutely.
yes, we have some comments, and I appreciate those of you who are joining today.
Yeah.
We are talking to Gabrielle Leonard. She is an expansion coach. She helps her clients as well obtain large corporate accounts. And so we're going to dive into that. But as I mentioned, we want to talk about what work needs to be done, the inner work, before we even think about acquiring those type of clients or contracts. So there's a few people who are asking about the books. We mentioned one book is A Happy Pocket Full of Money by David Jakanji. I wish I could spell his name. And I have the book here.
I usually have it around me, but I think my assistant put it on my bookshelf.
This is how I know that we're going to be lifelong friends, because we both typically keep that book around us. But the other book was The Big Leap. Gabrielle, do you know the author of The Big Leap?
Not off the top of my head. I have it in my audio, so if I can pull it up, I'll say it here real quick.
I'll be sure to put that in the notes as well. But I don't think I gave you your due diligence when it came to introducing you as the expansion coach, because I really want to talk about that. I've seen you expand. I've seen your clients expand. In fact, I saw a post from you yesterday. One of your clients landed a 6-figure contract.
Yes.
That's amazing. We're going to jump into that because I want to know the details. But I want you to dive deeper into expansion. Like, what does that mean for you?
Expansion is making your ceiling your new floor. So the thing that you've been saying, oh, one day I want to land a 6-figure contract. That's like what we do. Yeah. We land 6-figure contracts. One day I want to do 30K months, 30K clients is the new normal, right? That is what expansion is. It's taking what you think is your ceiling, that thing that's like the very tip of what you're aspiring to, and making that your new normal, and then doing it over and over and over again until you decide that that's it. That's you hit your level, right? Because ultimately, we decide when we've hit our peak. I'm gonna say that again. We decide when we've hit our peak. If you decide that you've never hit your peak, then you have never hit your peak. And it is what it is. And that's what expansion is for me. It's always pushing yourself to the next level until you decide it's not. Because sometimes expansion is for some people, it's okay, I'm doing 6-figure months consistently. That's where I want to be, and I want to maintain that. That is also expansion. So it's expanding into knowing and understanding yourself in such a way that's like, I don't need to do $1 million months. I'm okay with 6-figure months. I'm okay with that. Now let me maintain that, because that's another piece of expansion. It's when we get to a certain level, if we've hit this upper limit in ourselves, we're looking for the other shoe to drop, you'll find quickly that while you can hit that 6-figure month, it's hard to maintain it. So a lot of the work that I do with my clients is helping them to get there, maintain it, and or expand above it.
Yeah. You know, something I want to talk about too, because I think we go through seasons where we have to expand. We're comfortable, and you know, the number one way to grow is to be pushed outside of our comfort zone. But even before we get there, a key word that you mentioned was you made a decision to do that.
Yes.
I don't think a lot of people have decided that that's what they want to do. The idea, the thought, the notion, the concept sounds great.
Yeah.
But one thing that sets, I know this for a fact, one thing that sets someone who may be in the status quo apart from someone who's constantly expanding and hitting those milestones repeatedly, being able to make a quick decision.
Absolutely.
I listen to Jim Rohn a lot, and he's passed on, but he always talks about the power of being able to make a quick decision.
Yeah.
Do you find that to be true with your clients now, with closing clients?
Oh, for sure. So I'll say this. I had a conversation with one of my clients recently, and amazing person. And so she had a lot of things that we had to work on, because a big part of that expansion too is also recoding and reprogramming what like generational programming and generational coding. We have to reprogram and recode that because it's all the things that we're operating in is passed down in our DNA, and we have to recode our DNA literally. And so that's a whole other conversation. But she had been saying a lot. She was like, I really want to have this, and I really want to be closing 10K clients, and I really want to be doing this. And I was like, okay, you can want and wish and hope and dream and set goals all day long, but have you decided? Because it seems to me that although you want and believe a thing and all these things, you haven't decided you can have it. You haven't decided you're going to have it. And so she was like, okay, I'm making a decision, I'm doing it. And she literally this girl, I'm always like cracking up on her because I call her my fairy. She's like very fairy and like flow with the wind. And so, I'm there she's very feminine energy leaning, and I have to bring that masculine energy of structure into her business. And so she had been saying, I really want to have this. And she's a photographer, by the way. And I'm like, I really want to have these kinds of clients and these kinds of contracts. And I was like, well, have you decided? Literally, we had the call. She made a decision. Mind you, this is something that she'd been wanting for months. She made a decision. She messaged me. She's like, I just closed about $30,000 in clients of people who's been in my inbox with these 10K packages. These are boutique stores, major corporations, just all of them just sitting now waiting on her because she hadn't decided. She hadn't decided that she wanted this. She kept saying she wanted it. She desired to have it, but it wasn't a decision. It wasn't until she made that decision did that thing become a reality. So absolutely, decision making is a huge part of that contract. Same thing with my other client. This client, the one I talked about yesterday, that's in the process of like closing up and finalizing this 6-figure deal. Before working with me, her highest contract was $5,000. That was her highest thing. After she attended one of my trainings before she actually became an official client. She attended one of my trainings, and I had that conversation about deciding inside of that training. And she was like, I'm deciding I'm going to charge $40K for my next contract. And she closed it and crushed it. And then after that, she was like, I'm deciding that my next contract is going to be 6 figures. And so said, so done. So I just posted that yesterday. That is what decision is all about. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Something that, and you can see this trend when you decide, what drops from your vocabulary is want. I no longer use want. It's going to happen or it's not going to happen.
Same. I use desire instead of want, because want comes from an energy of you need something, and desire is I can have it if I want to, and then I'm deciding. I desire that. I'm deciding I'm having it. It's such a different energy when you take want out or need. Yes. Need is the one that I took out of my vocabulary.
Yes, absolutely. You have to be very intentional about your words. Absolutely. Gabrielle, I want to talk to you a little bit about maybe providing the audience with just maybe 2 or 3 key ways in which they can start working on their inner selves when it comes from a place of expansion. Because typically my audience, they are healthcare professionals who are making this transition. So a lot of them are just now becoming aware that they can close corporate contracts with healthcare organizations.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, just like we talked about, there's certain things that I listen to, even at night, Gabrielle. Like I listen to, Bob Proctor has a meditation where he's repeating, about receiving wealth and receiving certain things, whether it be peace, whatever you need, you can make these for yourself as well. But I listen to that. In the morning time, I have a routine in which I implement. I also have affirmations. If you were to come into my bathroom, the average person would probably think I was a little crazy because I'm affirming what it is. Just like even now, it is done. Anything
right here.
It is done.
Oh, my sticky note is right on my computer too.
Where's this too? Exactly. I have my income goal. Everything is here. So I want to talk about, or if you could provide some tips or even strategies for those who are just now being exposed to what it's really going to take from an expansion standpoint to get to those contracts.
Yeah. Okay. So I wrote some things down as we were talking because I wanted to get my thoughts together. And I'm going to say something that's going to feel a little bit like, but I promise you, if you want to know how myself and my clients are doing what we do, like I'm doing 6-figure months consistently, and my clients are doing 6-figure deals. Like I have more than one client who have done 6-figure deals, right? I really want you to listen to this with your spirit and not with what you think you know. Okay. So the first thing is I want you to start working on healing your inner child. And I'm saying that because your inner child is what's leading us a lot of the times. When I see someone cussing and going on or whatever, I'm like, oh my God, her inner child needs a hug. Like I'm always like, now that I'm working on my inner child healing, I'm always like seeing people as little children, like, oh no, her inner child, like maybe she didn't have a chance to speak up when she was younger. And so now it's showing up with her cussing people out or whatever, right? But I really want you to start working on healing your inner child because your inner child, if not healed and fed and nourished and loved, will show up and ruin your business. Okay? Your inner child will show up and operate in the way that your parent taught your inner child to operate. And a lot of times, our parents are not a lot of times, our parents only did the best they could. They did the best that they could, and they do what they do what they know. They don't know about these books that we read. They don't know about all this stuff most of the time. And so we are a product of our environment and how we grew up. And so I really want you to work on healing that. Is your inner child believing that you can't hold on to money because you make bad decisions? Is your inner child believing that it needs to go and spend all the money in Sephora the minute you get a paycheck? Or go do some retail therapy? Because if you're operating from that perspective, you will never hold on to the abundance that you create.
Absolutely.
So the first part is to work on healing your inner child. Go do some research on inner child healing. For me, doing my makeup every day is a part of my inner child healing. I can tell myself I can play makeup because there's more makeup where that came from, right? Really work on that. A part of doing inner child healing as well is like really doing some work on like reflection, journaling, asking yourself questions like, why do I do this? And then digging deeper on that. The second thing I would say is have an abundance energy ritual where every single day you are feeding into yourself and making sure that you're able to stay in that energy of abundance at all times. So that would be the second thing. Have a ritual. What that means? I like to read my Bible, pray, do my affirmations, journal, future pacing. I do a lot of different things, and I also do visualization, where I would sit down for a good 30 minutes and look at mansions, like go at different real estate places and look at that. The third thing I want you to look at is getting a support system or a container of people who are going after the same thing that you're going after, who have done it before you well, that can support you in your endeavor to get into your next level. Those are the three things that I would recommend that you work on as you are going after those big contracts. Absolutely.
Yes. Like all those are amazing. Amazing. Gabrielle, a lot of people don't know what future pacing is. Can you describe what future pacing is so they'll
Absolutely.
know? This is big.
So when we journal, we usually journal like, oh my gosh, today was amazing, or today this thing happened, and da 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 da. From a past tense perspective, future pacing is writing your day out as if it's already happened in your favor. So I'll journal like, oh my god, like in the morning, like if that's some first thing in the morning, I'm writing my journal out for the day. Oh my gosh, today was such an amazing day. I had an amazing meeting with a client. Then I closed a 6-figure contract. Then I had an amazing cup of coffee that I've been wanting. I've been wanting this cup of coffee for a long time. I had it. I had a really good talk with an old girlfriend that I wanted to have to mend things with. Like you really write it out as if it already happened. And from that energy of excitement, the whole point is to remind yourself to be in that abundance energy and the energy of excitement as if it already has happened. And so when you write from that perspective, you operate in your day from that perspective as well.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, but myself and Gabrielle were in a container, and this is something that she mentioned that you should do as well, because this container really helped me or exposed me to what was possible. So there was a time, even in my business, where I thought to myself, oh, okay, it's impossible to close this large of a deal. Like, having $100,000 days, that's not possible. because I was not, again, the same person I am today because I've done that inner work. And I also made huge investments to be able to place myself in those containers where I was able to expose myself. And so I think that's also extremely important, especially when you think about your environment. Just like Gabrielle mentioned, you know, earlier on in her life when she was a child, her mom had her in mansions. So again, it's the environment. Your environment can help you. Really, when you think about obtaining these contracts, your environment can help you speed that up, or it can keep you extremely stagnant. So
that's why I had to move.
Yeah,
I had to move from where I was to Georgia. I literally had to get out of that state to be in a new place, in a place that I feel this. I hired an interior designer. I was like, I want an all right room. All of that, even where you are at when you're creating wealth, is important. So it is all important. Take your children out to look at real estate.
Yes.
Yep. Go drive it in rich neighborhoods.
Go drive that car that you desire. I see
Absolutely.
Tiffany is here.
Yeah.
And I love that Tiffany's here because I recently saw one of her posts, and she had, I think it was a Mercedes, right, Tiffany? But it's a special kind of Mercedes. This one is an electric Mercedes.
Ooh.
And you have to go drive that car. You have to go visit that home and get a realtor to have you tour through that home that you desire.
Absolutely.
So let's tie this all back to, okay, now we see who we desire that we are, our future selves. We're now making decisions from our future self. And I think that's another big one. That's a big nugget too. I don't make decisions from who I am today because I will never be able to acquire those contracts. Listen, we're gonna help shift some people here today.
Come on now, let's do it.
Let's help shift some people. You know, but I have to make decisions from who I see myself operating from. Who is that lady? What does she look like? What does she smell like? What does she drive?
Yep.
So again, I want to kind of tie this all into we're future pacing. We've changed our belief system. We're thinking from a higher place. We're making decisions from a higher place. We are affirming and saying, I am affirmations to ourselves. We place ourselves in a container. How does this all tie into business now? We want to acquire those healthcare contracts. There is a healthcare system, and we all know right now the healthcare system is, you know, it's a little broken. So how do we tie all that into, okay, now it's time for us to acquire?
Yeah. So when you are doing all those things, you work on your inner child, you have a support system, you work on your abundance energy ritual. Now you have the courage to go after those scary deals because your inner child isn't telling you not to go do it. Okay. Now you have the support system of people saying that's too much. That's not that people, there's no longer people around you saying you're going after a 50K contract. Girl, that's too, who do you think you are? Now you have people saying that's it, girl, you should be charging 100, you should be asking for 100,000, right? Now you have your mindset that's speaking of, I am closing these contracts today. And so when you go after the contract, you show up in the meetings as a different person. The energy is different. And what starts to happen is that you empower people to say yes to you. I'm going to say that again. You empower people to say yes to you because here's the thing. People are buying your certainty. And if you're going into those meetings confused or not certain, or you're pretending to be certain when you're really not, because we can sit here until we make it, yes, but people can feel that.
Yes.
When you go into those meetings from that place of certainty, it is easier for you to close a contract than if you don't, right? Because now you know you belong there. The energy is settled, it's confident, it's certain. And so it's easy for you to go into those spaces and get those deals because that's who you are. That's who you be. That's who you are. My coach says all the time, that's who you be, right? And so it translates into when you meet someone, they're like, there's something about that person that I don't know what it is, but we're going to go say yes to this person over the other person we were considering. That's how that shows up in business, to be really honest with you. And now all the strategies that you have access to work because people think that you need the strategy first and then you can do the mindset stuff as an afterthought. That's not how it works. Because if it worked, all the Google stuff you've been Googling all these times would be working for you. The strategy isn't what you need first. You need the internal stuff first so that the strategy can work.
That's a whole tweetable quote. And it's the truth.
Yeah.
It is the truth.
Yeah.
And even when you hit those income goals,
Mm.
Gabrielle, you and I both know the work still continues.
The work still
It
continues.
never stops.
Let me tell you, every day you have to put yourself into that place of, no, this is who I am. No matter what's going on around you, knowing that I'm abundant, no matter what's happening around me, I'm abundant. Doesn't matter what's happening around you. Doesn't matter what your bank account looks like. You are abundant, period. That's who you are.
Yes, yes. Wow.
Yeah.
You shared a lot of information. Gabrielle, I appreciate you so much. I want to take some questions, maybe about 2 or 3 questions from the audience. But before we jump into questions, Gabrielle, I want the audience to be able to contact you, reach out to you. If you have any resources, Gabrielle has an amazing book called The Close Her. It's available on Amazon.
Yes.
And I believe it's chapter 2 in the book. You talk about reinvention. So
Yes.
if you need to remind yourselves of the things that we talked about today, I encourage you to invest in Gabrielle's book because, as she mentioned, you can acquire the contracts, but there's work that you have to do first. And Gabrielle, there was a lot of work I didn't know I needed until I hired a coach. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, now that I know the bigger picture, it's like, I probably need a life coach. I need a business coach also. I need a financial coach. So there's just so many pieces to this business puzzle, but you
Yeah.
have to be able to work on the inner you first. That's
Mm.
really step one. So
Yeah.
any questions from the audience? Any questions? I am abundant. I love it. I am abundant,
You
period.
got to put that T at the end of period. Period.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any questions? Any questions? Gabrielle, do you have any resources that you can refer those to who they're new to healthcare consulting? They are in the early stages of their business
Yes.
and they're ready to acquire, but they got to work on the inner work. We did share 2 books to read, but any
Yes.
other resources that you would recommend?
So I highly recommend that you go check that book out for sure. I also have just started a podcast. It's like in its first baby phases because I'm trying it out, y'all. But right now it's available on Spotify. It is the Abundance Energy Podcast. Just search Gabrielle Leonard. And also, if you're in that place where you're looking to, I don't know where you are in your business just yet, but I have different classes coming up that can support you in mindset, abundance. I have an abundance energy class coming up soon. So just go ahead and follow me on Facebook as a friend. You can go ahead and follow me on Instagram at Gabrielle Leonard or Gabrielle T. Leonard on Facebook and Instagram and just stay connected. You'll have access to me and what I have coming out in the next few months. I have a lot of stuff coming up soon, but for sure, the biggest one is go check out my book. Follow me. I'm as a friend. Let's connect on social media.
Yes, yes. Well, I hope you all took notes. Gabrielle shared some amazing tips in which we can start operating from a place of abundance. I'm so grateful for you and I'm grateful for your friendship. And I'm glad that we were placed in a container where we both invested and we
I
said,
know.
we want to do the work.
Absolutely. It was just a pleasure being here. And thank you again. Like, I really appreciate your friendship as well. I feel like it's not often you come around people who are genuine, who are in the same mind space as you when it comes to creating wealth and, really showing up with integrity in this space of coaching, because that's
Yes.
really important. And so I really appreciate you having me here in this space with you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, absolutely. Gabrielle, I was closing it out, but I recently did just think of something I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about, and then we can close it out.
Yeah.
But now that I have you here, I want to take full advantage of this because the people need to know. Gabrielle does help her clientele obtain corporate contracts, but I also want to kind of hone in into the concept that for those of you who are healthcare professionals, yes, we primarily work with healthcare clients, but there's a whole world of corporate out there. There's so many different industries. And so, Gabrielle, I just want you to kind of maybe go over some of the industries that you help your clients with, because I feel like a lot of people think that it's hard to obtain contracts with these clientele. But at the end of the day, if we can identify a problem and introduce a solution, it's not that hard to close these contracts. So can you share some light on maybe a client that you've helped in an industry?
I mean, there's so many different industries. I mean, there's an entertainment industry, medical industry. There's also like ironically enough, grocery stores. And also I've had a client who is in health, who was in fitness at the time. She was closing contracts with doctors' offices. And you can cross. So for example, you can be in one industry and work in government. You can go and get a government contract, or even work with private companies. So one of my clients, she is a coach who talks about leadership. Even if you're in healthcare and you touch on leadership in the healthcare place, you can go into corporate spaces and talk about leadership there too. Because I guarantee you that if you are in the healthcare system, you are a master at leadership. You have to be a leader of yourself and oftentimes leaders of others, and you are handling like really important things that have to do with our lives, right? So you can take that and go into different spaces, whether that is you speak with executives and talk to executives on leadership and growth and leadership, whether you go into, the educational system. I've had clients who went into the educational system and have closed year-long contracts working with teachers and leaders in educational spaces, or even students. So it really depends. You can craft whatever you want to craft and go into wherever you want to go to, as long as you're able to understand that whatever you do can apply whatever you teach can apply in different spaces. So the industry list is honestly limitless, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. And I'm
Military as well. I had a client that closed a $4 million contract with the military. So there's so many different things that you can
wow,
do.
a $4 million contract?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So let's keep that in mind.
Mhm.
It's all you. The sky is the limit for you. You can be innovative with whatever you're creating. That's the biggest thing. Think outside of the box.
Yes, absolutely. And with that being said, it all ties back to belief.
Yes.
All of this ties back to belief. So what
Yeah.
do you believe is possible? And I see we have some people in the audience who are working on their inner selves. I appreciate you, Brenda. Brenda says, I'm working on my inner self and restructuring my facility corporate package.
Yes.
And Erica says, I'm trying to shift from the bedside. COVID has changed so much. Yes, and Erica, because it's changed so much, guess what? There's a whole lot of opportunity in healthcare right now. Gabrielle, if I went down the list of healthcare facilities you could help, you'd be like, okay, it's completely abundant.
Yeah.
There's nothing but abundance in healthcare right now as far as showing.
Did she just say she's an events?
Say that one more time.
Did she say she's an event? She does events?
No. She said she's trying to shift from the bedside. COVID has changed so much. Okay. And because of that, again, COVID has changed a lot. We're rebuilding healthcare again. Yeah. So you have from your health systems to your community hospitals, your dialysis facilities, your ambulatory care facilities, your ambulatory surgical. I mean, the list can go on. All these organizations need to be helped. So I just wanted to share that little piece of information there as well, and just kind of let you know that it's possible, but it starts with belief.
It does start with belief. Absolutely. Because when you start believing what's possible, opportunities start making itself available to you, and you start paying attention to those opportunities as well. One of the little tips I have my clients do, a little game that we have them do, is they can be one of my clients was a vocal health coach. So she works with singers. And I would have her do an exercise of just go around in a day and think of all the ways that you can help different companies that you visit throughout the day. Just so you can see that you're not just limited to celebrities and singers who sing on competition, but you have opportunities everywhere. And so she started saying, wow, I can work with people who do speaking engagements. I can work with coaches who do podcasts and to help them to maintain their vocal health. And I'm like, absolutely. You can create opportunities everywhere.
Absolutely. We can talk about this all day. I'm not going to keep you.
No,
I appreciate you as always. And for those who desire to connect with Gabrielle, you can find her on social at Gabrielle Leonard. And Gabrielle, you also have a LinkedIn account, correct?
Yes. I'll send all the information over to you after, and you can go ahead and tag me on.
Perfect. We'll do. Well, I appreciate all of you for tuning in. I hope that you took a lot of notes and you apply that information as well. And for those of you interested in learning more about healthcare consulting, we do a live monthly masterclass called Healthcare Leader to Healthcare Consultant. Please join us. We love to share with you all the abundance that's available in the industry and healthcare. You all have an amazing day. Thank you, Gabrielle.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.